Hello, Internet, and thank you for joining me today.
Trick or treat, so much.
I found myself deeply conflicted about Abraham's Boys. I knew basically nothing about it before I saw the poster hung up in the movie theater, but I knew I was going to have to watch it. See, if you put a dark-haired lady on a movie poster about vampires, like an overbearing Asian parent, I'm fucking right there. However, after I actually sat down and watched Abraham's Boys, I found myself feeling like I had just been with a pretty dark-haired lady. Underwhelmed and owing a man in an expensive suit about $60 that I didn't have. What I'm trying to say is that this movie didn't live up to the hype that it never really had. So let me dive into it and see if I can't explain why I feel this way. All the spoilers in the world, by the way. We open our movie with Abraham Van Helsing, living in California a couple of decades after he killed Dracula. He's married to Mina Harker, and they have two sons. The older boy, Max, who isn't all that smart, and the younger one, Rudy, who seems to take more after his father, who is a doctor now? Don't remember that part of Dracula, but I don't know, it's been a couple of decades since I've read the book. Maybe I need to reread it. This family of four lives in the middle of nowhere because Abraham fears that old enemies, vampires, or Dracula, are tracking him down to kill him and his family. And these suspicions are somewhat confirmed when a group of surveyors for the expanding railroad threaten to bring the outside world straight to his doorstep. We start to see signs that this is the case with little bitty signs, and some ominous people seem to be lurking around the house. And this seems to bring sickness into the home that threatens the entire small town they are in, as well as the peace of the family in this home. The tension in the house begins to rise as more and more things seem to be revealed to the two young boys about their father, and it comes to a head when they find out what's been making all that noise in the basement. That's the extremely basic plot of the movie, so if that's all you're here for, you can go ahead and jump off now. However, if you want to stay for the analysis, just know that to say that this is a slow burn would be the understatement of the century. Because there are times that we have scenes that seem to run in like a real time. Like the boys are sitting there doing homework, and that's like 15 minutes of them sitting at a table doing math. Obviously there's character stuff happening, but in a very literal sense, that's all that's happening. Math. And sure, I like math as much as the next Tism tart, but it's not as much fun if I'm not the one using it to make my magic rocks draw anime for me. Yeah, it's an AI reference. But yeah, most people aren't going to find this one all that interesting. In fact, it's going to be boring as fuck. But who cares what other people think? What do I think? Why, thank you for asking, my 20th subscriber. Hooray! I actually...
That's your drum roll?
When a tempo isn't specified, any reasonable person would default to lento.
enjoyed it. For the most part. You see, I can get by all the boring bits because I actually find all the characters interesting. And Titus Welliver, am I pronouncing that right? As Abraham is amazing. I can even forgive it when you kill off my girl Jocelyn Donahue, who is way better boner material than 90% of Hollywood today. But what I can't forgive as easily is the letdown of no vampires in my Dracula movie. Don't give me that look. I gave a spoiler warning earlier. Yeah, the big twist is that Helsing is basically just a serial killer and likes to murder. And if the movie had left it ambiguous, as if we didn't know whether or not all these people he had been killing were vampires, or even if they had left it ambiguous if Abraham himself had just convinced himself that they were vampires and he was just really crazy, this would be a very different movie. But the movie we got has a very definitive answer to these questions. No, they're not vampires, And yes, Abraham 100% knows that he is just killing real people, and he does it because he likes it. Now, does this awful, awful, awful revelation make the rest of the movie trash? I would still say no. You see, this is where the slow burn comes in handy, because the main conflict of the movie is between Abraham and his two sons, specifically Max, the older of the two. The very slow approach allows for that tension to build in a very natural way, and we get to see a lot of the characters interacting outside of the vampire paradigm and as father and son. So while the answer to the mystery that hooks us into the movie is actually really lame in my opinion, the journey to get that answer is fundamentally interesting and intriguing to me. Because the entire film is shot beautifully and every scene is acted excellently. And this tension builds throughout the movie. Even on a rewatch, I was feeling all the same feelings for these characters, while knowing that most of this was going to be inconsequential because, hey, there's no vampires in this fucking vampire movie. You see why I'm conflicted about this movie? The green dildo thrown onto the court of the first 3/4 of this movie is just this idea that Abraham has fooled so many people. I mean, presumably, if he moved a continent and a half away from Dracula, he would have had to have convinced dozens, if not hundreds of people that vampires exist and that they were worth killing. Ultimately, though, I think that it's Titus Welliver's performance that really saves this, because he's so charismatic that he could definitely convince these people to do all of these awful things. Kind of very similar to the way that Doofenshmirtz convinces a judge to give him all that alimony.
If you want silence, I'll give you silence. You watch. And it's gonna be deafening. Mark my words.
So overall, this gets my recommendation, and this is my way of trying to encourage people to see it. It fell on its face in the box office as far as I can tell, but if you're a fan of slower paced, tension-filled situation movies like this, give it a shot. And I do want to apologize for how short this video is. This whole project is wearing on me a little bit, and I am burning the candle at both ends while recording this at 3 a.m. I'm very tired. Anyway, that's all I've got on this one. Like and subscribe and do all the other YouTube stuff like the bell and whatnots, but until next time, sayonara, bitches.